the mic.
Get on the mic.
Just get on the mic. Get on the mic, Mike.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Get on the Mic. That's where you put me in front of a microphone with a few notes and I talk about some of the more interesting things that have happened throughout the week or whatever else I feel like talking about. The first thing we're going to talk about, and before I introduce everything else that we're going to talk about on the program today, this news just broke right before I was going to record this. I was at work, and those of you know, some of you know that I work in news, so this of course was a big deal. The Bill Cosby trial is over. After 2 days of deliberation, Bill Cosby was found guilty on all counts. We don't know anything about what the sentence is going to be or anything like that. There's just no real news out there about it, and I really wasn't planning on talking about it today until this happened, but I'm not really going to talk about the trial or any of that, because even though I work in news and things, I mean, we go through a lot of different stories, so although I've been following the trial, I haven't been following it real close, and I know Bill and I talked about it not too long ago on the GB3 podcast, and talked about, you know, how we thought it was going to go and, you know, all that stuff. But for me, if the things they said he did are true, and the jury is right, and, you know, I wasn't in the deliberation room, I wasn't in the courtroom, I wasn't there the night these things may or may not have happened. But if these things did happen, then, I mean, justice be done. If these things didn't happen, you know, I'm watching one of my, I guess now, former heroes fall. It's hard for me to really know what to think about this. I mean, as I've talked about before in various places, Bill Cosby at one time was considered my favorite entertainer of all time. And I owned pretty much all of his albums, if not on CD or video or on VA or on a cassette tape. I owned them. I owned a VHS of himself. I have a cassette tape of a show you can't even get anywhere else. Can't even get it digital. Bill Cosby was someone who I followed for a long time, like a lot of people did. I used to wear out cassette tapes of Bill Cosby when I was a kid, and Bill Cosby himself, and For Those Who Have Children, which is the one you can't get anywhere else. He's just someone that I've admired for so long. I've seen him twice on stage. I was going to see him a third time when the show got canceled, when all this stuff started to break. He was supposed to come to Champaign to the Virginia Theater, and they canceled the show, and I was still on TV at the time, and I was trying to contact like his publicist to try to set up an interview, because I said, you know, why not at least give it a shot? And I never heard anything back, and all of a sudden all this stuff started happening, and I just, to this day, I still don't know what to think. There's a guilty verdict, and I still don't know what to think. Because he's been this hero to me for so long that it's just hard to fathom that he's something else, that he's this evil person. When someone's that famous, it's hard to know if what people said they did is true. And I'm not doubting his accusers. Don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to wrap all this around my mind that, you know, someone who the world has admired for so long could be this. It's just really hard to fathom, and I really just don't know what to think about it. It hurts. It really does hurt. If these things are true, which the jury has said they are, which I have a feeling I'm sure we'll be hearing of an appeal. I remember hearing something, they said something during the newscast today that he could get up to, I think it was 10 years in jail or a certain amount of money for each fine or for each count. I don't remember how much it was. It didn't sound like a lot, especially to someone like Bill Cosby. So, I mean, if they're not going to go through another trial, chances are they're not going to, they're going to hope for, just paying money, which, I mean, of course, Cosby's 80? 10 years in jail could be a death sentence. I mean, may or may not. I mean, who knows how long he's going to live, but, he's not in the greatest health right now. So, if they just pay, I mean, yeah, he'd be shamed the rest of his life, but he's also set for the rest of his life. And really, there's people out there that probably, whether or not he was found guilty, they aren't going to believe him, or whether or not he was found not guilty, they aren't going to believe him. I mean, it's just, he's that big of a figure that it's going to be, so much. There's so much behind him. He's such a big figure that there's always going to be an opinion, no matter what. So who knows what's true? Again, I'm not doubting the victims or the alleged victims. I don't even know what to say. The jury found that he drugged and assaulted this one woman. And if he did it, I mean, that's bad enough. If he did it to everyone, he's a monster. So I just don't know what to think. I really don't know what else to say about it, because as someone, again, who's, I guess this should be a lesson in hero worship. It doesn't matter who we admire, we're all human. And we all do stupid shit. Every single one of us do stupid shit in this life. But if he did these things, I mean, of course I'm not going to admire him anymore. There's still talent. Evil people can be talented. Good people could not be good at anything. It's just so hard to wrap my head around this. Maybe more will come out in the future. I don't know how this is going to go for him. I don't know if someone else is going to be able to step up and sue. I don't know a lot of the details about all the other victims. I mean, they weren't a part of this trial other than to speak out against him, the ones that did get to speak. So I don't know what else to think about it. It's just, again, this should be a lesson in hero worship. Don't put anyone on a pedestal. But then again, it's not like it's some new actor that I put on a pedestal. This has been someone who I've admired since my childhood. And I'm no spring chicken, as they say now. He's been someone I've admired for probably 30 to 35 years. And, if you count all up until today. And it's really hard to, again, wrap my head around it. And I know I'm going in circles here because I'm at a loss. And I'm at a loss of thought. I'm at a loss of feelings. I don't know what to feel. I don't know what to think about this. Some people may think, well, you're overreacting. Well, as someone that found escape in things like, music and movies and comedy, found escape from a world that he didn't like too much, and at times still doesn't like too much. When you have that escape and have that admiration for so long, it's a part of you. I've seen plenty of, people I admire fall with this whole Me Too thing, but not someone to, at Bill Cosby's level. There's really, I'm not going to say there's nobody at Bill Cosby's level with me, but again, he was at the top for me. And if this stuff's true, I don't know what to think about it. It's just hard to even fathom this, if it's true. Okay, I'm done talking about this for now. It may come up later if more comes up, but I just had to get that out. Thank you guys for letting me ramble a little bit there. Let's get on with the program. There's more to talk about. There's some things that are going to make me feel better today, some things that are going to let me vent today. So here we go. Here are the other stories that we're going to be talking about today. First, we're going to be talking about the long gestating Masters of the Universe movie. There's actually an update on that. James Cameron has a problem with Marvel movies, and that makes me have a problem with him. Get ready, James. Granted, I know he's not going to listen to this, but hey, I'm going to rant anyway. Next, we're going to be talking about casting in the movie Boss Level. Also, David Leitch's new movie. We're going to talk about that, and it's not Hobbs and Shaw. We're going to be talking about John Wick Chapter 3. There's been a little bit of an update on that, so I'll be talking about that. And lastly, in the big stories, we're going to be talking about WWE's greatest Royal Rumble controversy. It's pretty big news to me, and I definitely really want to talk about it. The first thing we're going to be talking about is the Masters of the Universe movie. Those of around my age will remember the 1987 version. Let me talk about the 1987 version for a minute. I was a big He-Man fan growing up, and when this movie came out, I was really excited. He-Man starred Dolph Lundgren as the title character, and I saw it in the theaters, and at the time, I really enjoyed it. There were some things that confused me as a kid. I wasn't big time into movies, but I loved watching movies, but I didn't study movies. I mean, I was pretty young when this came out. I was about 8 or 9. I got to see it in a theater, and I wondered things like, why did most of it take place on Earth? Why wasn't there a lot of characters that I knew? Why were all these new characters? I didn't understand these movies were being created to sell toys. But yeah, the big reason was, you went to Earth, and of course later on you find out they go to Earth because, you could probably save money that way. There's just lots. It's one of those movies that I enjoy it for what it is, but I know it's a bad movie. It has a place in my heart because I grew up with it and things like that, but I know it's not a fantastic movie. You wondered why Gwildor wasn't Orko, and you learn later on that of course they couldn't do Orko because good luck making him float and look good, right? Where you could have Gwildor running around. There's just so much about that movie. There was toys from that movie I wanted and never got. And you wondered why they made a toy of that version when the character lasted a whole 2 minutes. I was one of the villains, one of the coolest looking villains, and yet he had a toy and he died pretty quick. So there's a lot of memories for me with that movie. But as for this new Masters of the Universe movie, this movie has been in development hell for years and years and years. Every now and then a piece would move here and there, but nothing would really ever come together. They would have, long story short, they would have a writer or they'd have a director. There's never really been an actor attached. There was a April Fool's joke a year or two ago about Channing Tatum being attached to it. But they've never really said there was any real actors attached to it. Just, writers, directors, producers, and the such. But now things have changed. Aaron and Adam Nee, who directed Band of Robbers, which is an indie movie that I actually got to see and kind of actually enjoyed, have now signed on to direct. Nothing more has really been released about the movie except for its release date, which as of right now is December 18th, 2019. Unless the filmmakers, of course, start to get their crap together soon, this is probably going to change. I'm willing to bet this one probably won't come out till 2020 at least. So I wanted to talk about if they are going to finally make a Masters of the Universe movie, a real good Masters of the Universe movie, what would I want to see in this movie? The first thing I'd want to see is only have it set in Eternia. And I know there's definitely not Earth. Okay, stay away from Earth. And I know there's other lands surrounding Eternia and all that. And I'm not talking about don't include Snake Mountain and things like that. Of course include Snake Mountain. Have Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain and the Royal Palace and all that stuff. But don't go any further than that. And I'll talk about that in a bit. I would have a smaller cast of characters as of right now. And I know that He-Man has tons of characters, of course, to sell toys. But have a small cast of characters on both sides, good and bad, for right now. You know, you could introduce some of the many, many characters available to the franchise in later movies if the first movie is successful. Don't throw everything into one movie. That would be a horrible mistake. Here's who I would have on the good guy side. Of course, He-Man / Prince Adam. Instead of like the 80s cartoon, though, where basically He-Man is just a tan version of Prince Adam without a shirt on, I would have it played by two different people. A young scrawny kid as Adam and a manly man's man as He-Man. Not unlike the early 2000s cartoon, where that kind of took away the... granted, they were never in the same place at the same time, but they didn't look exactly like each other. You had this scrawny little kid, Prince Adam, who could barely carry the sword, but once he lifted that sword, he became He-Man, and he was the man, right? And it was a better way of hiding it from everybody else, because like Superman and the glasses, the differences between Prince Adam and He-Man, come on, there was no way. I mean, it was almost worse than Superman and the glasses. So, of course, you're going to have He-Man. For supporting good guys, I would, of course, have Man-at-Arms. Teela, which is Man-at-Arms' daughter. Stratos, which is your flying good guy. He's kind of a flying monkey-ish type character. It's hard to explain some of these characters. I would have Zodak, who's kind of your space... hard to explain. He's kind of like your outer space good guy. I would have the flying Orko, who would be the comic relief of the movie, who he tried to be the comic relief of the cartoon. You could actually do Orko justice with the technology we have right now. And of course have Battle Cat, because you can't have He-Man without Battle Cat. And of course have Cringer too. I want to see the cowardly Cringer and the brave Battle Cat. And then round it out with the Sorceress, who... You know, some of these characters were in the original movie. 4 of them, counting He-Man. It was He-Man, Man-at-Arms, Teela, and Sorceress were in the movie, which was definitely lacking some other creative characters. But I would keep it small. And there's plenty of other characters you could add to the team and take some people out and add some people in later. As for villains, of course you're going to have Skeletor. You're going to have Evil-Lyn and Beast-Man. All 3 of them were in the original movie, even though they kind of wasted Beast-Man. Evil-Lyn got a pretty big push, and Skeletor was probably the best part of the original 80s movie. With them, I would add Merman, Triclops, Trapjaw, and Skeletor's his cat Panther, because you got to have a cat versus cat battle if you're going to do this movie right. And that would give Skeletor a nice group of baddies that He-Man could beat up on, and also He-Man's supporting characters could fight with. So I would keep it that small. And here's the thing. Again, later movies, you could introduce so many more characters and places for He-Man to go. Later, he could take on Hordak and the Horde. That's a whole new set of characters. Which is also where they could introduce his sister She-Ra, which of course could be its own spin-off films. He could also go to the land of the Snake Men. Again, that's a whole new set of characters. And here's the thing. There's so many places he could go. Again, just keep him away from Earth. If done right, this could be a fantastic franchise. I don't want to see them try to do tons of spin-off films and everything with He-Man. The movie should always focus on He-Man, unless of course you're making a She-Ra movie. I don't want to see a Man-at-Arms movie, and I don't want to see a Skeletor movie, which granted that one would be kind of cool, but I don't want to see it because Skeletor should just be the villain, and a great villain at that. I don't want to see spin-off movie. Just Focus on He-Man. Later spin off She-Ra if you want, because she would fight Hordak most of the time. And then they could come together and fight someone or something later on. So if they do it right, they could have a lot of fun with this franchise. If they do it wrong, then we'll probably get something closer to the 80s when they come back to Earth. Let's move on to good old James Cameron. You know, he picked the wrong week to to get on my nerves. James Cameron has a problem with Marvel movies, and that makes me have a problem with him. Long story short, while on the set of his Avatar sequels, James Cameron opened up his big mouth about the Marvel movies during a press junket. He said, quote, "I'm hoping we'll start getting Avenger fatigue here pretty soon. Not that I don't love the movies, it's just, come on guys, there are other stories to tell besides hyper, gonadal males without families doing death-defying things for 2 hours and wrecking cities in the process. It's like, oi." Alright, here we go. First, Marvel has done what you could only hope to do with Avatar, which is tell a continuing story that people are going to care about. They have built up a universe for 10 years and have released the first half of that build-up with Avengers Infinity War, and it's fantastic. You, on the other hand, are just now finally getting to film 2 of your 4 sequels to your original Dances with Wolves and space movies. Also, James, talk about fatigue, but isn't it you that is getting involved in yet another friggin' attempt at a Terminator movie? The only reason that Avatar holds the top spot for money made worldwide is because you couldn't hardly get a ticket to the movie that wasn't in overpriced 3D, so of course the money is going to add up. Look, I'll admit, Avatar the movie looked pretty cool, but its original ideas and plot were pretty bad. Unobtainium, anybody? I really have no desire after the first movie to want to go back to Pandora. When it comes to Marvel, however, even after 10 years of movies, after seeing Avengers Infinity War, I can't wait to see what happens. I'm more excited now than ever. I'd like to see you do that with your blue cat people natives. Cameron, prove me wrong. Just prove me wrong. I dare you. Now, I have to say this. The best and more friendly response to James Cameron's diarrhea of the mouth has to be credited to Marvel's head honcho Kevin Feige. He said this, quote, he loves the movies? That's awesome. Wow, James Cameron loves our movies. That's exciting. I'll give the guy credit. He knows when he doesn't have to throw crap back, because he just doesn't need to. They know they got him beat. I have this feeling that if part 1 of Avengers Infinity War, whatever they're going to be calling the second one, if part 1 doesn't break the worldwide money when it comes to box office or worldwide money earned or whatever you want to call it, I believe part 2 will, because part 1 is so good. It has minor problems, but it's so good that I would love to see it stomp Avatar into the ground. Because Avatar, you know, he keeps saying how original they are and everything. There are so many ideas taken from other movies that it's not even funny. Anyway, I'll throw this in there. The next Avatar movie is due out on December 18th, 2020. A date that I'm really not looking forward to. You know what? Let's get off this, off of this. Let's talk about something fun. I want to talk about the Boss Level movie casting. We've talked about this movie a little bit before. I believe it was in a Quick Hits. Boss Level is about a retired Special Forces officer who is trapped in a never-ending time loop on the day of his death. I made a comment on how that sounded like Live, Die, Repeat or Edge of Tomorrow or whatever they feel like calling that movie this week. The movie's supposed to star Frank Grillo, Mel Gibson, Naomi Watts, among others, and is being written and directed by Joe Carnahan, who's the director of The Gray, Narc, and The A-Team. 3 movies that I really love. Some new casting news has come out about this movie, though. 2 bitter UFC rivals have seen to put their differences aside to star together in this movie. Rashad Evans and Quentin Rampage Jackson have both been cast in this new action film. I don't watch as much as I used to. I still follow it, MMA and UFC and everything. Some of what happened between the two of these guys in the past may have been part theatrics, but their rivalry on The Ultimate Fighter Season 10, which led up to their fight, was pretty brutal. They did not like each other, and even not too long ago, they ran into each other, and it didn't seem too friendly. I think they wanted another fight, even though Rampage is with Bellator now, fighting at heavyweight, and Rashad is fighting, I believe, at middleweight in the UFC. I know he's not a light heavyweight anymore. So they're definitely weight classes apart. I will say this, though. If they have squashed everything, all the beef that they had with each other, it's cool to see the two of them put their differences aside. And from what I can tell in the picture that's been released, they're even on the same team in the movie because they're even dressed alike. They both look like they're dressed like The Rock from Jumanji. Is kind of what their uniform looks like. But they're both wearing the same exact thing, and they were both holding similar weapons. I believe, I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it was a rocket launcher each of them had in their hands. I don't know much more about this movie. The more I hear about it, though, the more I really want to see it. Even though I don't think the idea is real original. I really like Joe Carnahan. I really like the cast in this. But other than that, there's been no real other details released, and there's no release date for the movie as of this time. The next thing I want to talk about is David Leitch's new movie. That's not Hobbs and Shaw. If you guys really couldn't tell by listening to this program, I really like David Leitch. He's one of my favorite directors going today. I look forward to seeing what he gets to do with Deadpool 2, which is coming out really soon. Also, besides Hobbs and Shaw, and hopefully Atomic Blonde 2, David Leitch has signed on to direct a new movie, which is based on Tom Clancy's The Division, which is the movie's going to be starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Chastain, 2 of my favorite actors going today. The Division is based on Ubisoft's video game of the same name. The story is set in a near future where a pandemic virus is spread via paper money on Black Friday, decimating New York City and killing millions. By Christmas, what's left of society has descended into chaos. A group of civilians trained to operate in catastrophic times is activated in an attempt to save who and what remains. This game is an action third-person shooter, online-only game, which means I probably won't get to play it, but I'll probably watch some others on YouTube because I just don't do online gaming. I don't like what it's become, but I don't mind watching other people do stuff like this. The story, I like this. The story is always evolving with daily and weekly missions for players to take part in, which means there are stories to tell. Just apart from the talent behind it, with the talent behind and in front of the cameras, plus it's a Tom Clancy property, I am excited for this. I do hope that the movie doesn't get in the way of Leitch possibly directing Atomic Blonde 2, but if a movie that sounds this cool might be a fair trade, is about the best way I can put it, as long as he still produces Atomic Blonde 2 anyway. I like the cast, I like the director, the story sounds cool, so this has like the last movie, this is a movie that I hadn't even heard of until a week ago. It's a game I had never even heard of, but I'm already excited for it. Speaking of excitement, speaking of a David Leitch involved franchise, the official synopsis for John Wick Chapter 3 has been released. Yeah, here it is. Quote, John Wick, played by Keanu Reeves, is on the run for 2 reasons. He's being hunted for a global $14 million open contract on his life and for breaking a central rule, taking a life on Continental Hotel grounds. The victim was a member of the high table who ordered the open contract. John should have already been executed, except the Continental's manager, Winston, has given him a 1-hour grace period before he's excommunicado. Membership revoked, banned from all services, and cut off from other members, John uses the service industry to stay alive as he fights and kills his way out of New York City. Nothing else has been released, really. We've heard rumors that there'd be some world hopping going on. Not sure what's going to happen. You know what? I don't care. All I can say is that even though they haven't really released anything that we didn't already know, even this little bit gets me excited for May 17th, 2019. I can't wait for John Wick Chapter 3. They are saying that this probably will be the last of the Keanu Reeves movies. Whether or not that means he makes it out alive, I don't know. It's really up in the air if you ask me. But they're saying this could be and probably should be the last one. I'm really looking forward to it. The next story I want to talk about is WWE's greatest Royal Rumble and the controversy surrounding it. This event's happening tomorrow. I'm recording this on Thursday. It's happening on Friday. Look, I am really excited about this event. At least at first I was really, really excited, but now I'm also a little ashamed of it. First, look, here's what I love about the event. The 50-man Royal Rumble match. The most they've ever done is 40. It started at 20. They moved up to 30. They did a 40 once, and now they figured 40 was too much, so they went back to 30. But now they're doing a 50-man Royal Rumble. They're wanting to make this event huge. I get it, and I'm looking forward to it. All the championship matches that are happening. There's so many championships on the line. The Undertaker is returning for a casket match. I don't know if that's going to be a fantastic match, but hey, they're putting on an Undertaker match. This event will probably be bigger than WrestleMania, and WrestleMania was just a few weeks ago. So, what's the problem? Next, this is what I don't love about the event. No women's matches. It's not an oversight. It's a cultural thing. Saudi Arabian culture does not permit the female WWE workers from taking part on the card. And this made me really think, because I didn't really think about it at first. I really wasn't paying attention to all the matches. I knew they were doing the 50-man Royal Rumble, and I was starting to hear the championship matches, and I was wondering what was all going to happen. But then you start to realize that this card is an awful big sausage fest. And so I had to ask myself, did WWE choose money over equality and over their own progress? Well, WWE has somewhat answered this. Paul Triple H Levesque tried to defend the WWE's decision while also trying to look into the future. And he said this, and I'll try to do my Triple H voice. We'll see how this goes. He said, quote, "I understand that people are questioning it, but you have to understand that every culture is different, and just because you don't agree with a certain aspect of it, it doesn't mean it's not relevant culture. You can't dictate to a country or a religion about how they handle things, but having said that, WWE is at the forefront of a women's evolution in the world, and what you can't do is affect change anywhere by staying away from it. While right now women are not competing in the event, we have had discussions about that, and we believe and hope that in the next few years they will be. That is a significant cultural shift in Saudi Arabia." I don't know if that was a very good Triple H impression, but hey, it was mine. Look, well, parts of me knows that he's right, that change will have to hopefully happen over time. Part of me also feels that they should have waited a little longer. I feel the idea of reaching an even bigger market is coming at the expense of one of the best rosters of female wrestlers that they've ever had, and coming at the expense of equality. And I'm not trying to sound like an SJW here. I'm just saying that if they're going to present their product, they should present their product. If they don't believe in their women wrestlers, don't put them on the card. But they've been preaching, we believe in our women's wrestlers full blast right now. And again, I think they have the best women's roster, or one of the best at least, that they've ever had. And I hate seeing them compromise like this. And it's almost insulting to the women. And granted, I don't live in Saudi Arabia. I don't live by that culture. I believe in equality. You know, if you do a good job, you should get to participate. One of the best matches at WrestleMania this year was Asuka versus Charlotte Flair. Another one of the best matches involved Ronda Rousey. It's hard to imagine not having Ronda Rousey there for this event. What's going to be probably the biggest event of all time, at least as it goes with the card. I'm not talking about number of people. I don't know how many people can fit in this place in Saudi Arabia. The Greatest Royal Rumble is supposed to be the beginning of a 10-year relationship between WWE and Saudi Arabia. Look, here's hoping that change does happen and that these grand events don't just become a huge insult to the entire female roster and the entire fan base by their exclusion. I'm at least glad to hear that there are talks happening about the situation, but you never know. This could become a 10-year insult to, again, the entire female roster and to the fan base that loves them. That's all I gotta really say about that. I am looking forward to the event. I am going to watch it tomorrow. I'm a big wrestling fan, and something like this, of course I want to watch it, but it's just, it feels like they're not putting their best foot forward because they can't use all of their pieces and they're having to compromise. It just makes me wonder if they should have waited. That's all. Next, we're going to be moving on to quick hits. So here we go. Taron Egerton has been cast to play Elton John in a new biopic about the legendary singer. The movie Rocket Man will cover a wide range of the singer's life, and from what it sounds like, Egerton could be singing Elton John's songs himself. A funny connection between the two is that Elton John had a pretty significant role in last year's Kingsman: The Golden Circle. Annapurna and Plan B are set to produce a spotlight-like movie about the whole Weinstein scandal and how the New York Times broke the story wide open. There's been no other news released about the movie, but if I could do a little dream casting here, I would have Jeff Garlin play Weinstein. To the surprise of nobody, A Quiet Place sequel is moving forward at Paramount. There has been no release date attached yet, and while I do hope that there are some more interesting stories to tell here, I do hope that they don't try to milk the franchise dry with the same stuff that they did the first time around. Topher Grace is set to play former Ku Klux Klan leader David Duke in director Spike Lee's new film Black Klansman. I guess that's how you say it with the 3 Ks in there. I'm wondering if that's just a marketing thing. The film is based on the true story of Ron Stallworth, a detective with the Colorado Springs Police Department who went undercover and got to the highest levels of the KKK in the late 1970s. The movie also stars John David Washington, the son of Denzel Washington, and Adam Driver, and is expected in theaters August 10th. Hugh Jackman, Zach Galifianakis, and Zoe Saldana are set to star in Laika's new stop-motion movie. There is no details of what the movie will be about or even what it's called, but if they keep up their track record and give us something as good as the Box Trolls or as great as Kubo and the Two Strings, then I'm really looking forward to this one. To my surprise, but honestly not really, The Secret Life of Pets is getting a sequel. The filmmakers have cast Harrison Ford in his first animated role for the movie. The movie is also going to star Patton Oswalt, Tiffany Haddish, Nick Kroll, and Pete Holmes. Oswald, for those wondering, is taking over for Louis C.K. as Max. Double Dare is making its return to Nickelodeon. While it has not been said if Mark Summers will come back to host the show, Nickelodeon has said that the show will, quote, feature appearances from blasts from the past, longtime Double Dare fans, and stars from today. Now, do I think it'll capture the funny of the original? I'm not sure, but it'll at least be fun to watch them try. Now, I wonder if You Can't Do That on Television will be next. I don't know. Ah, crap. Wait, nothing? Okay. Moving on. While I did try to avoid it, I was kind of forced to see the new Venom trailer that featured Tom Hardy in the symbiote suit. I still can't say much about it right now because I really haven't seen how the suit looks in action, but I have to say that I kind of like the design. I do want to see if they're going to put that tattoo that Tom Hardy showed the picture of on Venom's chest instead of the spider, which I'm still going to say is a yes for my prediction. Whether we like it or not, Alden Ehrenreich has let it slip that he has signed on for 3 Han Solo movies in total. When asked how many films were on his contract, he said, quote, 3, I don't know if that's officially public, but yeah, end quote. Hopefully the movie is good so I don't have to say something along the lines of, I've got a bad feeling about this. At least after it came out, to the surprise of nobody, Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle is getting a sequel that's set to be released in December 2019. There is no word if any of the first movie's cast would be returning, but as successful as it was, I'm sure they wouldn't want to mess with the formula too much. I don't think anybody, myself included, really knew how much fun that movie was going to be. And lastly, for quick hits, Quentin Tarantino has been making some pretty big claims about his newest movie, even though not one frame of film has been shot of it. Tarantino has said that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is going to be the closest to Pulp Fiction he's ever done. Well, I want to believe it, and I'm sure he's going to give us a really good movie. Good luck topping Pulp Fiction. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is going to have to be one charming mother effing movie. I mean, it'd have to be 10 times more charming than that bad mother effer on Pulp Fiction. You know what I'm saying? That's the end of Quick Hits for today. Now I want to talk about a little bit of a channel update. As I've talked about the past few weeks, I'm trying a new way to do movie reviews, which is more unscripted. It's called Talking Movies. The last one I did was my spoiler-free review for Avengers Infinity War, so make sure to check that out on the channel also. I'm going to be continuing Geno's Bad at Games. I'm getting finished up on Marvel games. I'm going to be playing the Punisher Arcade probably sometime this weekend. Again, I've hit the 4,000 hours mark a few weeks ago and I've applied for quote-unquote reevaluation with YouTube, but still waiting on them. Lord knows when I'll hear about that. If you want to know things that's going to be happening on the channel, if I'm going to be working with people, some of the other projects I work on, make sure to follow me on Twitter. It's the Reel Geno, the same as this channel, at the Reel Geno, and also follow me on Facebook, and it's the same thing. I try to keep everything as streamlined as I could. Also, I did a second viewing review of Super Troopers 2 with Brad Jones, aka the Cinema Snob. You can find that review on his channel, Stone Gremlin Productions. You'll find out what happens when what little bit of nostalgia you have is gone and you're seeing a movie the second time. I had a similar experience when I watched Dumb and Dumber 2 a second time. Let's just say the second time wasn't as fun. Also, I want to draw your guys' attention to a few different things. The Geek Be Cube channel, where you can find the GB3 bi-weekly podcast. On that program, I talk about the Fast and Furious cartoon that's going to be happening on Netflix. Bill talks about the new Doom movie based on the video game that's coming out soon. And we both talk about all things Marvel. Also, next week, Bill and I will be doing a very spoiler-filled tag team review of Avengers Infinity War. I also want to draw your attention to Bill's YouTube channel, Heisenerd. He's my partner in crime, and I want to see him do well. He does a lot of gaming live streams and Let's Plays. He also does a weekly podcast called Heisenerd Speaks. If you get a chance, check out his channel. He's stuck at a really, and I mean really low subscription count, and he's got a lot of fun content on his channel. So if you get a chance, check it out, and if you like it, subscribe to his channel, and please share it with everyone you know. That's going to be all for Get on the Mic this week. I hope you guys have really enjoyed the program. As always, I enjoy doing it, and I appreciate everyone that takes the time to listen to it and comment on it, and it's just a lot of fun for me, and I'm trying to keep it that way. And you guys are a big help in that. So until next time, I'm the Reel Geno, Geno Reynolds. Peace.